What is up, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Not So Stupid Podcast. Today, we're going to be breaking down the 7 habits of highly effective dieters. And this is a spin-off of the very famous book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is a very old book. I think it's about 25 years old, but it still is one of the bestsellers every single year. And that's because no matter what happens, no matter what changes in the world, these habits have always been timeless. They're always relevant to everybody, no matter the circumstance. Anyone that wants to become a better person needs to understand these habits. And likewise, these habits that I'm about to share with you are going to be timeless habits as well. These are going to be things that no matter what, no matter who you are, no matter what your goal is or how extreme the goal is, whether it's losing 5 pounds or losing 100 pounds, these habits are going to be important for you to follow through with, embody, and prioritize to have not just short-term success, but long-term success with your fat loss and with your diet. So getting right into it, we're going to break down each habit one by one, why it's important, and I think those are really the only 2 things you need to know about each habit. But going into it, the first habit is going to be training regularly. And this is, I was debating about saying this as training or moving regularly, but I'm going to say training here just because you need to exert some effort to make this a lifelong thing. You need to exert some effort to not only expedite it in the short term, but also maintain it in the long term. So training regularly, whether that is group fitness class or weightlifting or cardio, whatever your preferred method of training is, you need to be able to stay consistent at a reasonable frequency for you and your goals. So whether that is training 2 times a week or training 6 days a week, whatever your preference is, whatever you enjoy doing, whatever is reasonable for your schedule, find what sticks and do that regularly. This is really important. When a lot of people start dieting, they subconsciously move less, they have less activity without even realizing it, and now their diet is not as effective as a result. But we want an effective diet. So that means training regularly, staying consistent with it, and always trying to improve in moving often, whether that's just walking more, what was the word? Increasing your lifts in your increasing the weight you lift in your strength training. So if you're working out 4 days a week, going in week to week and trying to lift more, do more reps, improve your form, but just getting better in one way, shape, or form with your training is always going to be helpful and what you should try to aim for. So training regularly is going to be the first habit. The second habit of highly effective dieters is that they are always aware of their body statistics. So this comes in one of many forms, and I highly encourage you to do multiple forms, not to just rely on one form. So one form is going to be scale weight, and this is the most common form, and it's the easiest form that you can create awareness around, but it does not tell the full story. It never tells the full story because, as I've mentioned on several podcasts, all the scale tells you is how much you weigh, which sounds very obvious, but it doesn't tell you how much fat you have. It doesn't tell you how much muscle you have. It doesn't tell you how much water you're retaining. It doesn't tell you what size you are, right? How much bigger or smaller you became. It just tells you how much you weigh at that point in time. And there's a lot of factors that influence what you weigh on a daily and weekly basis. How stressed you are, how much water you're consuming, how much is in your bowels, how much waste you're holding, what you ate that day, and how late you ate the day before can influence your scale weight the next morning. How much sodium you're consuming, how much carbs you're consuming, because that'll affect your water retention. All of these things can play a role and can shift the scale as much as 6-7 pounds in a day and not represent exactly what is changing in your body. So taking multiple forms of body statistics is going to be vital here. And the 2 other forms that I highly recommend and I use with all my clients is going to be progress pictures. So seeing how your body changes physically, and visibly, month to month. I would recommend this every 3 to 5 weeks, to do this every 3 to 5 weeks, but taking progress pictures of your front profile, your side profile, and your back profile to see the changes in your body composition, and also tape measurements. So just seeing the actual inches that you're losing, across your arms, across your chest, your waist, your midsection, your hips, your thighs, what else is there? That's pretty much everything. So just measuring all of those areas and having that awareness consistently to see the true change of your body, to see the true trend that your body is heading in. Because again, I've had clients that won't lose any pounds for 3-4 months, but will lose dozens of inches and just become entirely different people. And if they only focused on the scale weight, if that was their only source of awareness around their body, they would be miserable and they wouldn't even, continue on with this weight loss / fat loss / dieting journey that they're on. So I, again, highly encourage you to always have that awareness and have multiple forms of awareness as well. The next habit of highly effective dieters is they know how much they're eating, right? You can't start a diet and not know how much you're eating. It's like going on a road trip and not knowing what directions you're taking. If you're gonna try to if you're trying to travel from like Chicago to New York, let's say, and you're just winging it, you just know that you got to go east and you know what east is like, that's not going to help you. You're going to have a really hard time getting there, and it might take you like 10 times longer to get there than it should. Whereas if you have awareness around what streets you're on, you have awareness about how fast you're going, you have awareness around the traffic that's going on, you're able to not only predictably see where you're going, like what destination you'll reach, but also how fast it'll take you to get there. So having that awareness around your food is vital, because without that awareness, without knowing exactly what you're putting into your body, it's all just a guessing game, and you're hoping to get to this endpoint instead of making it a predictable guarantee that you'll get to this endpoint. So creating awareness around your food comes in many forms, but the most effective way, again, for effective dieters, is by measuring their intake, counting how many calories they're having, counting the various types of macros that they're consuming, with prioritization for protein and fiber more than any of the other macros. So tracking your food with an app like MyFitnessPal or Chronometer or some other third app that's out there, just having that and doing that consistently, building that habit will ultimately lead to an effective diet, a successful diet in the short term and the long term. So that is the third one, knowing how much they're eating. The fourth habit of a highly effective dieter is mastering mindfulness. This one's very underrated, but the difference between somebody that is going to enjoy their diet phase, lose weight consistently, and maintain that weight loss is having mindfulness with everything that they're doing, having mindfulness with their eating, knowing exactly what they're eating, understanding the emotions behind the food that they're eating, feeling that they want this food as opposed to just having it because it's there, chewing thoroughly and actually tasting the food instead of just swallowing everything. All of those things make a big difference in how much you're consuming, how content you are with what you're eating, and how much you enjoy what you're eating as well. Likewise with training, you want mindfulness with training. You don't want to just go into the gym, spend an hour in the gym and just do random stuff. You want to go through and feel each rep, understand the muscles that are being worked. If you're doing a bench press, you got to feel your chest stretch at the bottom and contract at the top to get the most out of it. You can't just push things up and down. That's really limiting your results, really limiting the calories you're burning, and can increase your risk of injury as well. So being mindful with your movement, being mindful with how often you're getting up to walk, getting away from your desk from work. What else? And, mindful of the last thing being your emotions in these different situations. Why are you resistant to trying new things at the gym? Why are you hesitant or fearful or have a negative emotion towards certain foods and being exposed to those certain foods? Being mindful of that and shifting the narrative you have in your mind will, again, be super powerful to help you have successful and effective diet phase and a successful and effective maintenance after the diet phase. So the fourth habit is mastering mindfulness. I'm going through this a lot faster than I thought it would. It's only 9 minutes. The fifth habit is going to be having routines. And this is different for everybody, but the idea remains the same. You're going to need to have routines that are going to set you up for success. So for a lot of my new clients, having a general morning routine is one of the surest way to set your day up for success and give you a head start on what your goals are for that day. So this is, again, different for everybody, but generally speaking, starting the day off with hydration. So having a big glass of water, that's going to give you more energy. That's going to help you feel better, clear your mind, and set up the rest of your day for success. Having a high protein breakfast. So getting a head start on how much protein you need to have in the day, starting off with 20, 30, 40 grams of protein, and having, 20 to 50% of your daily intake already taken care of before noon. Starting your day with movement, getting some sunlight on your skin, having a walk, again, clears your mind, helps you feel better, expedites fat loss, all very important. And these are things that will improve your quality of life and help you, again, once the fat loss phase is done, once you're done dieting and you reach your goal, maintain that for the long run. So just having these having these routines in place that you can always go to, help you feel good, help make accomplishing your goals easier, are going to be fundamental in being an effective dieter. Other things you can do, of course, is like having the routine of a pre-workout ritual, right? Having a certain thing that you do before you work out. For some people, that's going through a certain stretching routine. For some people, that's listening to a certain song. For some people, that's eating a certain pre-workout meal combination. But having something consistent that you can always go to make your workout as effective as possible is also a very valuable routine to have. And again, this is different for everybody. Maybe you don't even want or need a pre-workout routine. Maybe you don't even want or need a morning routine that's going to set you up for success or make things more effective for you. Maybe it's not realistic for your lifestyle to have those things, but having some sort of routine some point throughout your day that you can always go to day by day to ensure your success, to put you in a good mental space, to put you in a good position to eat the foods you need to eat or avoid overindulging, will lead to an effective diet phase. So the fifth habit is having routines, having any kind of routine. The sixth habit, and this is rolls off really well with the fifth habit. The sixth habit is always getting back on track. So sometimes you're not going to hit the routine that you want to hit. Sometimes you're going to overindulge. Sometimes you're going to make poor food choices. Sometimes you're going to skip the gym for a week, at some points, and there's no good reason for it. You just didn't do it. Those things are bound to happen. But how you respond to those things happening are the biggest difference between someone being effective with their diet going forward or completely falling off track. The thing I always like to say is that you can never mess this up. The only way you can mess up your diet, the only way that you can mess up your fat loss is if you give up entirely, right? These setbacks are normal, these setbacks are expected, and they're bound to happen. But if you let this small setback get to you to the point where you don't want to act anymore, you don't want to push forward anymore, well, then you just lost. And again, you're not an effective dieter anymore. To be an effective dieter, you'll see these setbacks, you recognize these setbacks, you understand that they happened, but you let them go. You don't let it affect your future decision making. You get back to the plan exactly where you left off. You don't try to overcompensate for what happened. So like if you went out Saturday night and had too much food when you went out, you had 1,000 extra calories than you were supposed to have. Sunday, instead of trying to eat nothing the whole day and feeling guilty and going through these negative emotions, you just do what you were supposed to do. You have your regular amount of calories, the regular amount of protein. You go through your regular routines again, with just confidently getting back on track, not trying to overcompensate the track, not trying to stop entirely and let that affect your decision making. Just accept that it happened. Learn how you can avoid it. Learn how you can avoid repeating that for a future situation or a future similar situation, and again, becoming better for it. The only way you can ever mess this up is if you give up entirely. As long as you continuously get back on track after every setback, as long as you get back on track after every mishap or perceived negative action or decision, you'll be successful. You'll be an effective dieter. You will have effective weight loss for your goal and to maintain it the rest of your life. So that is the sixth effective habit of a highly effective habit of dieters. Now the last one is, and this one's really important, is finding a way instead of finding an excuse. So it's really easy. The world around you is always what you make of it. It's what you perceive of it. It's just a reflection of who you are. And when you find whenever something happens, you can always view it as an obstacle or an opportunity. Referencing earlier what we talked about, the routines, and saying something like, oh, I don't have time to do that in the morning. Oh, I can't because I got to do this. Oh, I can't work out because I have work that day. Is that actually true? Or are you just looking for a reason to make yourself feel better with not following through with the plan? I had a conversation with a client not too long ago about this specifically, where they wouldn't work out on work days just because they felt like it was too much on their plate. But they really had 4 free hours to work out, but they just mentally gave themselves that excuse to not work out because, oh, it's a work day, I don't need to work out. But you have the opportunity, you have the capabilities. The gym is open, you have the time, you have the energy. You're just choosing not to do it, and then giving yourself a reason to be okay with not doing it. Whereas you can, instead of looking for that obstacle of, oh, I have work, I shouldn't work out, you can look at it as, oh, I have 4 free hours, I can work out for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 1 hour. There's always an opportunity. There's always something that you can do better, and there's always something you can take advantage of. Likewise, I mentioned earlier the breakfast thing, or having a morning routine. You can always say like, oh, I'm already always rushed in the morning. I don't want to add this thing. I don't want to have this. I don't want to make a breakfast, whatever excuse you want to make. But that can easily be solved. Fall asleep 15 minutes earlier, wake up 15 minutes earlier. Now you have time to drink a glass of water. Now you have time to have an omelet in the morning. Make yourself a quick breakfast. Now you have time to walk around for 5 minutes and take advantage of mindfulness, maybe meditate or do something that puts you in a good headspace. You created an opportunity for yourself to follow through with this thing that is going to help you for the rest of the day, instead of finding it as an obstacle, looking at it as an obstacle and finding other obstacles to stop you from doing it. So finding a way, not an excuse. That is the last habit of highly effective dieters. So going through them one more time, the 7 habits of highly effective dieters are going to be training regularly and moving regularly. The second one is are always aware of their body statistics. The third one is they always know how much they've eaten or how much they're eating. The fourth one is mastering mindfulness. The fifth one is having routines. The sixth one is always getting back on track. And the seventh one is finding a way, not an excuse. Anyone that I've ever worked with that has had a successful diet phase and has maintained that diet or maintained that progress that they've made for the long run always exhibit these 7 habits. These are always there. And again, like the expression of these habits are always different. Like I said, with having routines, people have different routines that work better for them. But the point is, you have a routine that works for you and puts you in the right mind space and puts you in the right position to do the things you need to do. The idea isn't to have these super specific routines that everyone has. The idea isn't to have these same amount of training frequency that everybody has or anything like that. The idea is to find what works for you and following through with that consistently. And again, when those things when you fall off of that consistency, always getting back on track. That's why that is always an important habit. And I had to throw that in there. It's not about doing this perfectly all the time for the rest of your life. It's about trying your best to be consistent with it. And whenever you're not consistent with it, just getting back on track and finding that consistency again. Things aren't going to be perfect, but it doesn't mean all hope is lost. You'll still be able to lose the weight. You'll still be able to maintain the weight loss. And I believe in your ability to do that. Now, that is the end of this episode. Thank you guys for tuning in once again. As always, I encourage you to check out our sponsors, Strong Coffee Company, for the best coffee. Just had a cup right before this podcast, just like I always do. Gives me the energy, gives me the alertness to push through and give you guys some quality content, and top-notch nutrition. So with both of those, make sure to use code STUPIDFIT at checkout, or follow the links in the show notes to get an auto discount at checkout. But thank you guys again for checking out the podcast, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.